There's something cruel about small towns. Everyone knows you, but no one really sees you. She was the shy farm girl who kept to herself, never bothered anyone. But to the wrong kind of people, silence looks like weakness. They laughed when she dropped her books. They pushed when no one was around. And today, they crossed a line they shouldn't have. Because someone else saw. Someone who doesn't believe in second chances. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you truly to everyone watching and supporting these stories. Every comment, every like, every person who sticks around till the end, it means more than you know. All right, let's get back to it. Mornings in the valley always started the same. A low hum of tractors in the distance, mist rising from the wet fields, and the soft sound of birds waking up before the sun had even touched the wheat. It was the kind of quiet that felt sacred, the kind of peace people from the city would pay to find. But for Emily Parker, it wasn't peace. It was just routine. She'd been living on that small patch of farmland all her life, a narrow dirt road, a peeling white fence, and an old barn that leaned slightly to the left like it was tired of standing guard. Her father used to fix everything with his bare hands. But after the accident, it was just her and her mother, scraping by with what they had. Emily didn't complain. She woke up before dawn, fed the chickens, milked the cow, and walked 2 miles down that dusty road to catch the school bus. She wore the same faded denim jacket every morning, too big for her, sleeves rolled up, and carried an old leather backpack her dad once used when he was her age. She wasn't loud, she wasn't popular, and she never asked to be noticed. But somehow, people noticed her anyway. At Ridgefield High, being quiet was like painting a target on your back. The louder kids, the ones who filled the hallways with laughter that felt more like noise, they didn't understand people like Emily. To them, kindness was weakness, and silence was something to mock. It started small. A whispered joke as she walked by, a paper ball thrown when the teacher wasn't looking, a shove in the hallway by accident. Every day, she'd brush the dust off her jeans, pull her jacket tighter, and keep walking. But that morning was different. The air felt heavier, like the day was holding its breath. The sun hung low behind gray clouds, and the wind carried the kind of stillness that makes animals restless before a storm. Emily had stayed late after school to clean up the art room. She loved to draw, even though no one knew. It was the only place where her thoughts made sense, where her hands could turn silence into color. By the time she walked out, the buses were gone. The parking lot was nearly empty, except for a few trucks and laughter echoing from behind the gym. She froze when she heard it, that kind of laughter that doesn't sound happy. The kind that smells like trouble. "Hey, farm girl," a voice called. Her stomach sank. She knew that voice. It was Jake Turner, the captain of the football team. Tall, confident, and cruel in the way boys can be when no one ever tells them no. Behind him were 3 others, all wearing the same blue and yellow Letterman jackets, the same smug smiles. Emily clutched her sketchbook tighter and tried to walk faster. "Aw, come on, we're just joking," Jake said, stepping in front of her. "You're always so serious. What's in the book? Drawings of cows?" They laughed. She didn't. Jake reached for the sketchbook. Emily tried to pull it away, but he snatched it easily, flipping through the pages. His laughter died when he saw what was inside. The pages were filled with drawings, detailed, almost haunting, of faces. Not random ones. Their faces, the bullies, the teachers, even his own, captured with an honesty he didn't like. The arrogance gone, replaced by something ugly and human. "Look at this," Jake said, his voice tightening. "She's been drawing us like we're monsters." One of his friends laughed. "Maybe she's got a crush on you, man." Jake's jaw twitched. He didn't like being laughed at, especially by his own friends. He grabbed the sketchbook and tore the pages in half. The sound of paper ripping felt louder than thunder. Emily's voice cracked. "Stop, please." But the moment her words trembled, the teasing turned meaner. They surrounded her, laughter turning sharp like knives. One of them grabbed a rope from the back of his truck. "Let's make her one of her art projects." They tied her hands to the fence, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to humiliate. Jake smirked. "You think you're better than everyone. You're not." And just like that, they walked away, leaving her there, heart pounding, eyes wet, cheeks burning with shame. The road stretched out behind her, empty and endless. She tried to free herself, twisting her wrists until the skin turned red. She was about to give up when she heard an engine in the distance. At first, she thought it was a tractor, but as the sound grew louder, steadier, she realized it was a truck. A black pickup rolled down the dirt road, dust curling behind it like smoke. It stopped a few yards away. The door opened, and out stepped a man she didn't recognize. He wasn't from around here, you could tell just by the way he moved. Calm, deliberate, like someone who'd seen too much to ever be surprised again. His clothes were plain, dark jeans, gray shirt, work boots, but there was a kind of weight in his eyes that didn't belong to small towns. He looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "You all right?" Emily didn't answer. Her throat was tight. He walked closer, slow enough not to scare her. With one sharp motion, he untied the rope and set her free. "Who did this?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "It doesn't matter." But he saw the torn sketchbook on the ground, the pages scattered across the dirt. He picked one up, a half-ruined drawing of Jake's face, the signature in the corner, EP. He didn't say anything, just looked back toward the road, where a trail of tire marks led toward the old fairgrounds. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emily," she whispered. He nodded once. "Emily, go home, I'll handle it." She didn't know why, but something in his voice made her believe him. She gathered her torn papers and watched him walk back to the truck. His movements were steady, too controlled, like a man trying not to let his anger show. The engine started again, rumbling low like thunder building on the horizon. Emily turned and began her long walk home, glancing back only once. The truck was already gone, just a trail of dust and the echo of something heavy in the air. She didn't know his name then, didn't know who he was. But the people who hurt her, they were about to find out. The fairground sat at the edge of town, abandoned now, nothing but rusted rides and graffiti-covered walls. Jake and his friends liked to hang out there, drinking and showing off to nobody. The sky was fading into orange when they saw headlights cutting through the dust. "Who's that?" one of them muttered. Jake smirked, probably her mom coming to cry about her freak daughter. The truck door opened, and when Jasonstatham stepped out, the laughter stopped cold. He didn't say a word at first, just looked at them, 4 boys, all confidence and no conscience. He walked toward them slowly, his boots crunching the gravel. "Evening," he said finally. Jake forced a laugh. Can we help you, old man?" Jason stopped a few feet away. His voice was calm, too calm. "You tied a girl to a fence." Jake frowned. "What, the little farm girl we were just—" Jason's gaze cut through him like a blade. "You think that's funny?" No one spoke, even the wind felt still. Jason looked at the rope hanging from his hand, the same one he'd untied from Emily's wrists. "You see this," he said quietly. "You don't humiliate people. You don't break them for fun, because one day you'll meet someone who doesn't care about rules." Jake tried to stand his ground, smirking again, but his voice trembled. "You gonna teach us a lesson, tough guy?" Jason didn't answer with words. The first hit came like lightning, precise, fast, unstoppable. In seconds, the smug laughter turned to gasps and dust and pain. He didn't hurt them more than he needed to, but enough to make them remember. Enough to make them understand that kindness isn't weakness, it's restraint. When it was over, Jason stood still for a moment, breathing steady, eyes cold. The boys groaned on the ground, their pride shattered worse than their bruises. He turned away, walked back to his truck, and paused only once, staring at the sunset over the fields. Some debts, he knew, weren't his to collect. But this one felt personal. He drove off without looking back. And miles away, at a small farmhouse where the light in the window still burned, Emily sat by the table, staring at her sketchbook. When she heard the sound of an engine slow outside, she smiled for the first time that day. The next morning, the valley looked cleaner somehow. Rain had fallen overnight, washing away the dust and the blood orange of the sunset from yesterday. The old fence creaked softly in the wind, the rope still hanging where Emily had been tied, a faint scar left behind by cruelty. Emily didn't sleep much. She stayed up with her sketchbook open, staring at the torn pages scattered across her desk. Her mother had knocked on her door once, worried, but Emily had only said, "I'm fine." It was a lie, but not the kind that hurts anyone. It was the kind that lets the heart rest until it finds strength again. When the rooster crowed, she went outside. The air was cold, sharp enough to sting her lungs. She poured feed for the chickens, milked the cow, and tried not to think about the looks, the laughter, the fence. But her hands trembled. Then she saw it, parked at the end of their driveway. A black pickup truck. The same one from last night. Jasonstatham stood beside it, coffee in one hand, a quiet look on his face. He didn't wave or smile, just nodded once, like men do when words aren't necessary. Emily hesitated before walking closer. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "Probably not," Jason replied, setting the coffee on the fence post. "But I wanted to make sure you were okay." She studied him, the calm lines in his face, the weariness in his eyes. "You didn't have to do what you did." "I know," he said, "but I couldn't walk away either." For a moment, the wind carried nothing but silence between them. Not awkward, just heavy, like both of them were trying to understand the kind of kindness that comes from nowhere. Finally, she asked, "Who are you?" Jason exhaled. "Just someone who's seen what people turn into when no one stands up." He looked toward the horizon where the hills met the sky. "My job used to be stopping men like them. Now, I just try to make sure they don't get too far." Emily nodded, unsure what that meant, but she could tell by his voice that it wasn't arrogance, it was memory. "Those boys," she said quietly, "they'll hate you for it." Jason half smiled. "That's all right, hate doesn't last, shame does." He turned to leave, but Emily called out, "Wait." She pulled a page from her sketchbook, one of the few that hadn't been torn. It was a quick sketch she'd made the night before of his truck in the rain. "I drew this," she said, holding it out with both hands. "You don't have to take it, I just wanted to say thank you." Jason looked at the drawing for a long moment before gently folding it and slipping it into his jacket. "You've got a good eye," he said. "Keep drawing, that's how you stay strong." Then he got in his truck and drove away, gravel crunching beneath the tires until the sound disappeared over the hill. By noon, the whole town knew. Ridgefield didn't have much excitement, so when 4 football players showed up at the clinic covered in bruises, it didn't take long for rumors to start. "Did you hear? Someone jumped them near the fairgrounds. Some stranger said he was military or something." The story spread like fire through dry grass, changing a little with every retelling. By the time it reached the principal's office, Jasonstatham had turned into some mythical avenger, and Emily had become the mystery girl at the center of it all. At lunch, students whispered when she walked by. Some looked away in guilt. Others, the quiet ones, looked at her differently now. Like maybe, for once, silence wasn't weakness after all. Jake didn't come to school that week, neither did his friends. The sheriff called it a misunderstanding, but everyone knew the truth. They'd messed with the wrong girl and karma had a name. Still, Emily didn't feel proud. She didn't like seeing people afraid, even if they deserved it. That Friday evening she walked back to the old fence, the place where it had happened. The rope was gone, the dirt smoothed over, the sunset bled gold across the fields. For the first time in days, she felt calm. She didn't hear the truck until it stopped behind her. "You always come here?" Jason asked, stepping out with a small smile. "Sometimes," Emily said. "It helps me remember I made it through." Jason nodded slowly. "That's good. Scars remind us where we've been, not where we're going." He leaned on the fence beside her, both of them looking out at the fading light. After a long pause, Emily asked, "Do you ever get tired of fighting for people?" Jason's eyes softened. "Every day, but then I remember what happens when good people stop." He looked at her jacket, the same faded denim she wore every day. "You know, when I was your age, my mom used to say something. You can't stop storms, but you can teach them who they're dealing with." Emily smiled faintly. "She sounds like someone who'd fit in here." Jason chuckled quietly. "She'd have fixed that fence by now." They stood there for a while, saying nothing, watching the last bit of sunlight die behind the hills. Finally Jason said, "Those boys, they'll be better for this, or they won't, but that's on them now, not you." "I don't want revenge," Emily whispered. "I just don't want to feel small anymore." Jason looked down at her. "Then don't. The world only steps on people who stay on the ground." The wind shifted, carrying the smell of rain again. He took a small envelope from his pocket and handed it to her. Inside was a business card, simple white, black letters. Statham, security consultant. Below it, if you ever need help, call this number. Emily stared at it, her fingers tracing the embossed letters. Thank you. Jason nodded once. You've got people watching out for you now. Then, like always, he left quietly, no goodbye, no looking back. Just the low hum of the engine fading into the distance. Weeks passed. The school changed in small ways, less laughter at the expense of others, fewer cruel jokes whispered between lockers. Emily started sitting with new friends at lunch, the ones who'd always stayed quiet. Together, they built a small kind of peace. She even started drawing again. Her latest piece hung in the art room now, a portrait of a man standing in the rain beside a truck. The title written beneath it, Karma Arrives Early. One afternoon, her art teacher called her aside. Someone's here to see you. When she stepped outside, she saw Jason again, leaning against his truck, holding a cup of coffee. Thought I'd stop by before heading out of town, he said. Got a training program downstate. Emily grinned. So you do this a lot, helping people who don't ask for it. Jason shrugged, only when they need it most. He glanced at the art piece through the window. That's you, isn't it? The one who helped herself first. She blushed a little, maybe. Jason handed her a folded envelope. For your art supplies, he said simply. She shook her head. I can't take money. It's not money, he replied. It's investment. When she opened it later, it wasn't cash, it was a letter. For the ones who stay kind in a cruel world, keep creating. The world needs more builders than breakers. JS. Months turned to seasons. The wheat grew tall again, the fields golden and full. Life went back to its quiet rhythm. But sometimes, on early mornings, when the mist curled low and the air smelled like rain, Emily would hear the distant growl of a familiar engine passing by on the highway. She'd look up from her sketchbook, smile softly, and whisper to no one in particular. Thank you. And somewhere beyond the valley, Jasonstatham drove on another story behind him, another silence restored. He didn't need credit. He didn't need thanks. Because some men fight for glory, and others fight so that people like Emily never have to again.